this? A letter for me.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of TTM Thursdays, Through the Mail Thursdays. I've got 4 more envelopes here that I want to share with you. Let's see, there we go, 4 envelopes. So we're going to open those and go through them and see what we got. I want to say most of these are probably baseball. I just sent out, like previously, some NBA guys and some NFL players, so hopefully those will be trickling soon, but I don't think this batch will be any of those because it'd be too quick. So the first one is, let's see here, okay, this one I'm pretty happy to get back because I'm going to turn around and send these to another player probably. But this is from Danny Darwin. Mr. Darwin was he played for quite a while. I don't know exactly how many years. I'd have to look that up. But let's just say this is a 79 rookie of him, and this is a 1991-93 actually. So that's quite a career right there in the majors. You know, as a starting pitcher, you know, avoiding injury. I really like the green MVP card. Thought that was pretty neat, so I had him send that. But I'm going to try to possibly get Mr. Billy Sample and Pat Putnam to sign this as well. So we'll see. I think I've seen that Mr. Sample signs through the mail, so I'll have to do a little research on Pat Putnam because I'm really not too sure if he does through the mail request or not. Hopefully he does. So that is the first one back. Okay, put them on the side. And another one here. This one is postmarked from Texas. So both of those were from Texas. Get a good grip on this. Kind of messing the envelope up, but who cares? Okay, and this is Mr. Fred Stanley. Fred, I gave him some extra cards, but these are some of my... Fred was a Yankee mainly during his career, but these are some of my favorite cards. Right here are these senior league cards. These 3 right here. Back in the early, I want to say 1990, 89. Maybe I'm off, on my focus. There we go. I want to say early in that era, there was a what they called a senior league team, and what this team was basically consisted of a gentleman that had just recently retired. Maybe be a few years out of the game. I'm not sure how old Mr. Stanley was at this point, but played 14 years in the majors according to his card. But this card set is relatively cheap. I want to say I picked up this set and this set for like $2 to $3 for the entire set. So I was ecstatic to open it up and see some of the names in there. Unfortunately, it's almost going to be impossible to get a complete set signed because many of the people have passed away that are in the sets. But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes sometimes with autograph set collecting. But one person I do want to point out and give a little recognition to is, if you see really close there, Hilton, Marshall, and Stanley. Mr. Dave Hilton just recently passed away. If you check out my in memoriam video about baseball, you will see an image of Mr. Hilton. It was unfortunate. He wasn't that old of a gentleman. He was a very important part of baseball down in the Arizona area, I believe, from what I understand. He coached post-career. I when I wrote Mr. Stanley, I had intentions on possibly sending to all three of these gentlemen, but unfortunately Mr. Hilton passed away. So that's unfortunate. My thoughts are with the family, and I hope you know, all things are better with that family. But yeah, definitely check out my other video about baseball deaths in 2017, and you'll see Mr. Hilton, the guy on this card, with Fred Stanley. So, alright, moving on to a third one. This one is from Phoenix, Arizona. So, not Texas this time. I want to correct myself. I just said that Mr. Hilton was important in the Arizona area. I meant to say Texas. So, kind of caught myself on that one. And this one I'm pretty excited to get back. And you know how I like my oversized cards. There's an oversized one in here that I found at a flea market or something, if I recall. But this looks like a team issue White Sox card. I have no idea what the set is. Looks like Coke. So maybe this is some promotional card or something that they gave out at the stadium, or you bought a case of Coke and got it back in the 80s. But looks like we got, 5 of 5. Again, I probably stuck an extra one in there for them, to keep or whatever. But the cool thing about Floyd Bannister is this. He was the #1 overall pick in the 1976 Major League Baseball draft. Now, with that said, there are high expectations for an individual if they're drafted #1 overall. Mr. Bannister had a very lengthy career by no stretch of the imagination. I know he had some injury issues. I want to say that he probably, I don't know if he appeared in a game in the early 90s, but I want to say there's a card of him as a Royal that's after his injuries that he tried to make a comeback. I just don't know if he actually made the team or if that was a spring training thing. But Mr. Bannister was the #1 overall pick in the 76 draft. I think it's always cool to have a first overall pick in my collection. I've got quite a few through the mail or in person throughout the years. Unfortunately, some of them aren't King Griffey Jr., Chipper Jones, etc. I've never gotten them in person or through the mail, obviously. But, you never know. Maybe I'll get to meet him someday and ask him. So that's Floyd Bannister. Great pitcher for the White Sox. And we got one more here. I'm trying to be too slow here. It's from Cincinnati, Ohio. So let's see what we got here. Cincinnati, Ohio. Sorry, I'm tearing up the envelope like a child. But we got Tommy Helms. Very happy to get this back. Thank you, Mr. Helms. Tommy Helms on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One is a manager card. That was brief, obviously. I know in 1990, that's a 1990 Topps, Lou Piniella was the manager because they won the World Series that year. But I'm pretty sure that Tommy still works in some capacity for the Reds. I sent to a Cincinnati address, I want to say. So he might be like a player consultant or something. But Tommy was, I believe, the 1966 Rookie of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify that real quick. Sorry, I'm not going to. Yep, 1966. A couple other things. As a player, he was in 2 All-Star games the following year, 67 and 68. He won a couple Gold Glove awards, and he was also elected to the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. Yeah, he managed the Reds from 1988 to 89, so that must have been during the whole Pete Rose scandal stuff, because Tommy probably stepped in the interim, and while the whole Pete Rose scandal stuff was going on, and eventually Lou Piniella took over in the 1990 season. So, little quick thing about baseball cards. Typically back during this era in the late 80s or early 90s, even though this is a 1990 tops, the picture's from usually the previous year. So in other words, in 89 they took the picture, in 90 they printed the card. So that's typically why sometimes managers weren't actually the manager in the year that the card existed, which is the case with Tommy Helms. So, with that being said, I am very happy that you joined me again for another TTM Thursday. I hope that you enjoy these type of videos. I have many more that I plan on shooting over time. I'm going to try to, as you can tell, I'm trying to limit my amount of through the mail successes to about 4 per video, only because I tend to get long-winded sometimes, and I want to keep the videos as short as possible to keep your attention. So I'll just split them up over time, and hopefully you keep watching and subscribe and view some of the other videos and content on my channel. Thanks for everything, and comment below.